Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Spotlight. And today I have the pleasure of speaking to Claire Thomson of Staging Rooms. Claire, thank you very much for joining me today. Much appreciated you coming on and being interviewed for our Business Spotlight show. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Thanks for inviting me.
Excellent, no problem at all, no problem. So Claire, you've got quite a story to tell. You've got quite a bit of a background. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a bit about staging rooms as well, please?
No problem. I'm based in Aberdeen, lived in Aberdeen. After leaving school, I became a nurse, worked in nursing, and then trained as a midwife. I worked for a few years as a midwife here in Aberdeen. And then my husband's job took us over to China. It's only supposed to be an 18-month contract. So while I was away, I decided to do something a bit different because I wasn't allowed to work there. So started looking into studying interior design, just for a bit of fun, really. But it was a bit difficult to do it over there. But obviously, I was forever in the furniture markets and various different places. I was quite inspired by all the interiors there. While we were there, the job extended frequently, and we were there, ended up being there for about 10 years. In that time, I had four children. So when I came back to Aberdeen in 2012, it was quite difficult to go back to working in the hospital because I'd been away for too long. So had to try and retrain, had four children, and my husband still worked overseas. So decided just to sort of persevere with the interior design side of things, and I've kind of been back and forward with that. Now, in just about what kind of COVID time, I started looking again at various interior design courses and things. And there was a business for sale in Aberdeen doing interior design. And one of the services that they had offered previously was staging properties. And I'd never heard of that here before. So I spoke away to the lady that had the business, and she was telling me about what staging was and how they used to have a company in Aberdeen that rented furniture, but it was no longer available to people here. So because I'd worked overseas and things, I obviously had a lot of connections and people in America and things. And realised the more I looked into this property staging, it's something that's done everywhere else, and the UK is way behind with it. So I decided to look a wee bit further into it, did a little bit of training, I've done a few courses and things on it, and thought, you know what, in Aberdeen, there's nobody staging here at the moment, and there's a huge need for it. Obviously, the property market's been struggling for a few years for various reasons, and now more than ever, it's necessary. So decided that I was going to put aside some of the interior design services and really concentrate for a while on establishing a business and specialising in property staging. So that's
That's
me.
that's amazing. That's an amazing story, going from nurse midwife to Asia, and then running now your own business, and something that you said is that there's a need for it, which I think is really interesting because there isn't a lot of companies out there for staging rooms for property to sell or let. So. Uh, is there an opportunity within the next 5 years, or do you see it as something that's going to grow, that
Yeah,
sort of
definitely.
industry?
It's definitely getting there. People are starting to know a little bit more about it and understand more about it. And because people have struggled for some time to sell property, they're now starting to think actually we need to do something different. And I guess it's people like myself that getting out there, networking, and making people like investors and developers more aware of it. Obviously, big developers have been staging property forever. We all like to go to a show home and see what it looks like. So it's realizing that it's not only for big developments, it's for all property, and it works and makes it easier to sell. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As you said there, it certainly makes a property easier to sell. Having it look so much more neat and tidy. I've seen I've seen some properties, and you look at the photos, you're like, oh no, it really doesn't help. So, are you finding that what you're doing is making a massive difference then?
Yeah, so what happens is it's not just about like going and furnishing the property. I mostly work at the moment with investors. We are, flipping properties, they're refurbing them and selling them, which originally would have been empty. But I also work for owners as well. But they tend to obviously have furniture in their property. So if it's an empty property, I go and I take everything, I completely furnish it. But it's not just putting the furniture that we would live with. We all like to sit on a big comfy, big huge sofa to watch the TV. We're great big giant televisions and things. That's how we live. But it doesn't look good in photographs and it doesn't do well for the space in your property. So I go and I particularly choose the shape and size of the furniture to make sure it emphasizes the size of the building, creates a good flow between rooms. You want to be able to walk easily through them and each one connects. So it's about looking at what would work best for that property and using a lot of things like color psychology, different colors instill different feelings in people. So it's making sure the color works, that the color flows, not having colors that we might like to live with, but colors that make us feel more comfortable and live, relaxed and create a nicer feeling for us.
Fantastic. I could talk all day about property with you because I do like property. I do like browsing, even just to be nosy. But I would like to ask a couple of things about being a business owner. That's a lot of what this podcast and YouTube channel is all about. So I'm interested how it's been for you since as people say, take the plunge and going into business for myself. So how has the last 2 years been since you went into business for yourself then?
Initially, it was very difficult. It took, I've kind of been talking about it for a bit longer than that, and it's just getting an awareness. Obviously, having never had my own business before, it was quite hard to sort of really get kick started. Telling people you're doing it, but not actually doing it yet. That was the hardest thing. It was like getting that, respect, I suppose, and people believing that you could do something that you hadn't done yet to show them. So it was important for me to try and get a portfolio and things. So it's a very visual business. So that was the hardest thing. Getting my first client really was difficult. And yeah, and also a lot of procrastination, a lot of holding myself back. Not really going and asking for the jobs, I suppose, in the beginning. Just doubting myself and get just knowing where to network. And I've never needed to network with people before, so that was quite hard for me. So yeah, but just getting out there really and getting the word out, and also like knowing how to do all the administration things. I'd not had to do admin for business and things before, so that I found quite tricky. The things you probably want to do at home, or at the end of the day, I've got children at home, so it was like trying not to mix my life, my family life and my business life. I found really hard to do the things that I was wanting to do after work time, but obviously still be the mom as well.
Yeah, yeah. You've talked, or you've mentioned a couple of times since we started this conversation about networking. You've said you've got good connections in New York, and you've talked a lot about connecting with others. How important is it for a business owner to have a good network of people? And also, is there anyone in particular that inspires you? So sorry, that's two questions there. But so how important is it to network? And is there anyone who's been really good for you and inspired you of late?
Yeah, networking is definitely obviously the way forward. I think it's hard to find the time. Sometimes you kind of put off the networking because you think you're too busy. But it's important, one, for your own kind of confidence and bringing yourself out of your kind of office and getting to know people. But also just really it's important for me to market my business in that way because it's word of mouth. It's amazing. We think it's only particular people that are going to be selling a property or renting a property out or whatever, but everybody knows everyone that invests in property or has a flat that they rent out to people. Or it's amazing. You don't know that. People don't necessarily tell you that before. When you chat to them, your friends might have a property and you don't even know it. So I think it's really important to network with all different people, but particularly I've kind of concentrated a lot more on property networking events in the last year. So it was like it was important to make sure that I was networking with the right people in the beginning, because prior to that I'd just been networking with anyone. But now I've established that, so now it's easier to start getting out to all different networks and different business owners now.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah. Is there anyone, or has there been anyone in the past that's really inspired you? We introduce our clients to a lot of books and everything. Right now I'm reading Diary of a CEO from Stephen Bartlett, which I'm finding very inspiring. Um, you know, is there anyone that inspires you then?
That's exactly the person I was going to say.
Oh,
You asked me that. I'm not a big reader because I don't have a lot of time to read out with work time, but I have read Diary of a CEO, and I really like Stephen Bartlett, and I went to see him when he came to Aberdeen not long ago, and I really liked him. I enjoyed that. He's very inspiring, and I've actually kind of encouraged my children to sort of look at him as well, because I think he's a good example to others. So yeah.
excellent. Yeah, yeah. Without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah. And a few of our clients went to see him as well, and my business coach as well. Sadly, I'm not in Aberdeen, so I couldn't see him. But yeah, brilliant. Seeing him speak, he is a massive inspiration. Um, during the last couple of years, then, or even like the planning stage of starting staging rooms, what challenges have you faced as a business owner?
Obviously the whole like being there, always being at home for my children. I've been a stay-at-home mum for a long time, and I found that really difficult. I was got to that point where I thought it's really important that my children see me as a working mum as well, because they've become to rely on everything. I'm always there, I do everything for them. So it's just that it's getting rid of that mum guilt. That's a massive problem for me. That now I start to feel guilty if I'm not there all the time. But realizing that that's important, and they're going to, they need to learn from that too. So it's more my home life that's been challenging more so than the actual business life. But it's definitely procrastination and thinking you're not good enough. Why would anybody want me to do something for them? There's bigger people out there that have been doing it longer, better at it than I am. So it's getting rid of that belief and believing in yourself.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You're saying a lot of things that business owners I've spoken to in the past have said, and what have you learned about yourself then during this incredible journey? Because it is an incredible journey running your own business. So what have you learned about yourself?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's always evolving, isn't it? So you kind of forget what I've kind of forgotten what I was like probably before I started. I certainly definitely like found more confidence in myself and more self-belief, and I'm finding my flaws as well, finding what I'm not good at. Not good at admin and keeping up to date with all that side of things. Very practical, and sometimes take on, I'm happy to take on anything, and I'll be like always trying to please other people. So it's like limiting myself and knowing what I've got time for, and learning to say no sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, Claire, we're about to wrap things up here, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It really has. You've already given a lot of people who are going to watch this some very good advice and enthusiasm to go into business for themselves. Um, but if there was any sort of advice that you could give to anyone who's about to go into business for themselves, or maybe someone who's even like just procrastination and going and starting your own business, a lot of people procrastinate about it. So what advice would you give anyone who's got an idea, they want to go into business for themselves, or they're just about to set off? As someone who's just done it, what advice would you give them?
Don't hesitate. Don't I always believe, if you've got an idea, just try it. What can go wrong? Nothing much really. So definitely just give it a shot. I think getting support and help in the beginning would be good, because I didn't really know where to start, and I probably got a bit muddled up in the beginning. So just getting help with like where to get what you need to do for a business, how to set yourself up properly. And even if it's not going to be a success, as long as you were set up properly in the first place, that's more important. I think I just kind of jumped in and then tried to kind of fix it afterwards, finding out what I really needed to do. Because I felt like I had to get that client first. So I think, be positive, just believe that it's going to be successful and just set it up as you mean to go on, I think. And yeah, just going out there, most people, more than they do about whatever it is. So most people are interested, they're supportive. Everybody, wants to back someone trying something for the first time. And, people are supportive and happy to give it a shot. And, I also ask for people's, thoughts in it, and they're getting sort of what they thought of you and get a bit of a review and things. Getting reviews is definitely something that's been good for me as well. So ask them to reflect on it so that you can use that, and it'll give you more confidence, and it also allows other people to believe in you as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think there's been some great advice there. Have a strong network of people. Ask people for help. That's absolutely absolutely no problem to do that. Believe in yourself. Know you're the expert in your niche or your industry. So yeah, and what you've then said again, and you said this a couple of times, that'll help you grow in confidence. And I can see that, Claire, you've grown in confidence, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. I've learned a lot from you, so thank you so much for joining us today for the Business Spotlight, Claire. So much learnings and advice there for anyone watching. So thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great.
Excellent. You've been watching Business Spotlight. I'm Mark Hunter of Brenda Hecht Action Coach, and you've been listening to Claire Thomson of Staging Rooms. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye now.